Identify. Internalize. Progress. If you want truth, we are that truth. Come rain or shine, you'll find what you're looking for. We are the custodians of truth. The surgeons that bring light out from the darkness. You want the revolution? We are the revolution. This is the revolutionary. Welcome to one and all who is listening right now. If you just tuned in, you are on Africanized Radio, and we are on African time with your host, doing the most, Thando Macozoma. I promise to always give you more, and I will never give you less. Nonetheless, we always have to start off our show with the greatest of success. Now, on today's show, we'll be discussing the injustices of gender equality in our country and all over the world. Do you feel that the laws that are governed for both sexes are for and against them in particular circumstances? I don't know. When it comes down to it, they say let's go 50-50, but when you hit it straight down to the middle, are we truly equal in the eyes of the law, man, and God? We'll have that and a lot more coming up in today's show. But before we do, I'd like you to hit us up on our WhatsApp line, which is 079-089-3671. I want to hear your views and reviews on the subject that we are about to discuss right now. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, which is Africanized Media. As well, we are on Instagram, which is African_eyes_media in small caps. If you follow us, we'll follow you back with love. We'll have that and a lot more coming up. But before you do, I want you to stay right there. Do not go anywhere, because this is going to be hot, but we will be right back after these short messages.
You are listening to the Revolutionary Radio, African Eyes Radio.
Identify. Internalize. Progress. If you want truth, we are that truth. Come rain or shine, you'll find what you're looking for. We are the custodians of truth. The surgeons that bring light out from the darkness. You want the revolution? We are the revolution. This is the revolutionary. Welcome, and if you're just tuning in, well then you're in luck. You are locked into Africanized Radio, and we are on African time with your host, doing the most, Thando Macozoma. The question I want to ask to all the listeners, what is gender equality? So let's get down to business. I have a statement here, and I want to know if you agree or disagree about the whole concept of gender equality. Gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. Everyone is affected by gender inequality: women, men, trans, and gender diverse people, children, and families. It impacts people of all ages and backgrounds. Prevents violence against women and girls. It is essential for the economic prosperity. Societies that value women and men as equals are safer and healthier. This is why gender equality is a human right, and everyone must benefit from gender equality. These are bold statements, if I must say so myself. But what if the law is not on your side due to gender discrimination? Seriously, what do you think? I have this audio clip by Mpho Mlambo, one of our listeners out there, and she just wanted to give us her views on the whole matter of gender inequality. So I would like us all to just hear from her and see what she has to say based on the whole matter.
I've just come to a realization, Jorge, the law doesn't favor men, right? And disclaimer, it's not about how men are cruel, men kill women, men rape women, and right? This is about how, when it comes to having kids, men are not considered. So you have two people, they come together, they have sex, they conceive, right? And the woman tells the guy, and the guy says, look, I'm not ready to be a father. Yes, fine, we had sex, this happened, but I'm not ready for fatherhood. And then the woman says, this is my body, I'm not going to terminate, and I'm going to have this child. The child becomes born, the father doesn't show up, right? This man doesn't show up, you take him to court, you trash him on social media that he's a douchebag. He told you, I'm not ready to be a dad. Fine, I'm not running away from the fact that once you have a child or you have unprotected sex, obviously what are you expecting? These are the consequences, right? Turn the situation around. Now this girl falls pregnant and says to the guy, I'm pregnant. And nigga says, yeah, cool, I'll be a dad to this child. And then the girl's like, no, I'm not ready to be a mother. I don't want a baby right now. I'm going to terminate. It's my body. Now, guys, the question is, why is parenting only decided by the woman when it suits them, right? And again, it literally takes two people to make a baby. But the one's feelings, if the one's not ready, they're not considered. But if the woman is ready and the guy's not ready, then it's like parenting is then imposed on the dad. I don't know if you guys get me. So my question is, but why? And then it goes to the point of getting the guy arrested, maintenance and everything. Is there such a way that if the man is ready to be a father, because I mean we're taking accountability, so the woman needs to also take accountability. You also were involved in making the baby, that the guy can get the woman arrested for terminating the pregnancy. That woman also get charged for that, and woman gets to be paid maintenance. That you have this baby, fine, the man will take the baby as he's ready to be a dad, and also say the woman for maintenance. No, really. Well, when it comes to this topic, guys, like women needs to also come to the party. So that is my question to you, and I'm posing this to you, Jorge. Why are men not considered when the decision to have a baby is being made?
That is really a serious one. That is a serious question indeed. That is a valid point indeed. If you look at the new social experiments that are happening in the DNH and on the internet, for instance, I was going through Facebook and I was just checking out these videos whereby they show an experiment of how a man can be abusive towards a woman, and they want to see how society reacts towards them. Will they protect her or let her be? But then what if the tables are turned now and it's the man being abused by the lady in question? This is what was dwelling in my mind. And they also showed the same reaction to different societies on what's going on. Funny thing is, when it came down to it, the social experiment was in 5 different places. So what had happened was both of the situations were turned, whereby it was 5 all. That means the experiment was of 10 people. But then from there on out, when they showed the side of the lady in question being ill-treated or socially abused in public, what the society did or people did in the restaurants when they witnessed what the man was doing, verbally abusing his spouse, his friend or his counterpart, in most cases they're not, the men or the people around were cautioning him and telling him to stop. Some even took matters into their own hands, where they try to separate the couple and then make sure that the woman is protected, defended, and is in a safe place, and does she want to press charges. But when the tables were turned on the man, funny enough, the society changed. Most people just kept quiet or ignored the situation, and most of the time when the man was verbally abused, it was either whereby just people giggling as the modern day society is acting as if he was losing his masculinity. So we look at the roles and how they were played. As I said, the experiment was 10 all in each, but every time when it came to the segment or the part of the lady in question, 5 out of 5 society was there to protect her, defend her, and make sure she is safe, and even asked her, does she want to press charges? Does she want to be taken home? Are there anything she needs just to feel safe away from the man in question? But when the tables turned vice versa, 3 people were not even there, or let's say 3 out of 5, no one even responded. It was only twice whereby once it was an elderly woman who was cautioning the lady in question of the verbal abuse and even telling her, this is not how you conduct yourself as a lady. in this certain manner. The second one was whereby the owners of a restaurant even asked the couple to leave, not actually trying to isolate the situation and dilute it. No, they just wanted the person out of the premises. So you tell me, does this not lead to gender equality? And after listening to that segment from one of our listeners, this made me question everything. Breaking it down, I think it's better for us to use this segment or the scenario that she gave as our subject matter in inequality or gender discrimination. This was so jaw-dropping for me. I was like, how could it be that people in this day and age still act this way, but we always talk about equality, being equal in the eyes of the law, being equal in the lives of pretty much everything, because we fought against, or our predecessors fought against this type of ill treatment, but yet now the tables are turned because everyone says this is a man's world, but it takes a woman to run it. I don't dispute that, but I'm just saying, treat me as you want to be treated. How do you feel about it? To the listeners out there, I don't know, I'm curious to hear your views on the matter. But let's just go back to the segment. The question at large is, in the whole concept of gender equality, why are men not considered in decision makings of having a baby? It's scary to think that in this modern day world, women are uplifted and empowered, which I am all for that. But now the modern day woman wants a traditional man. She wants all the perks of a traditional man, but does not want to cater to the man when it comes to the same circumstances. So you want all the benefits, but you don't want to put in the work, because as well, the modern day man still has the values of a traditional man, whereby he wants a woman who is submissive, a woman who supports him, vice versa. I feel like, to the listeners out there, we should all know where to play our roles. This was embedded in us. This has been passed down from generation to generation, but it still makes us think, why are these type of actions still going on? Why are we still condoning this type of behavior towards each other? Before we be even talking about males and females, we're human beings. So why is now the whole issue at large being about, because he's a man, he had everything at hand, now I'm going to treat him like this because it is my turn, my time? I'd be lying to you if I was telling you that I am happy about these type of situations, because I am not. Because remember what we broke it down to about gender equality. It's about responsibility, opportunity, and it is your God-given right to be treated as an equal. But let me try to put it in this type of scenario for you. We speak of concepts of take a girl to work day. I'm all for that. We're rooting, we're teaching the young ladies to become independent and strong. But now the same peers of the opposite sex, what happens to them? If you taking a girl to work day, what happens to the boy? Should he be neglected now? Because he is also an innocent, the same way as the little girl is, but more focus is on the young lady. Now we look at other situations like the Oprah Academy School for less privileged young girls in South Africa, which works as an international school, closely like recognized as our Harvard in South Africa. Big ups to Oprah for always trying to show more and uplift the women of the country. But now what happens to the young men? We're grooming young ladies to be the best that they are, but the same way, it's also like a brainwash type of matter, whereby now you're showing to a young lady that she does not need a young man in her life. He is insignificant. He is of no value unless he's there to reproduce or just ruin your life. That's the only thing I'm seeing throughout it. Let me not be harsh on the matter. Let's just fast forward and say they are adults. Now, what happens in a scenario when a man is raped or abused by his opposite? Why do people or our officials in the country treat the person differently? Why is a man mocked when he comes in and reports being abused or raped by his spouse, but they cannot give you the same treatment they would if it was a woman being raped or even abused? They don't have the same care or the same professionalism to focus on the matter at hand, that a person was violated and now they need help from the system. Apologize to the listeners out there. I was getting so heated, I lost control of myself. I got astray from the subject, but we are still asking the question, why are men not considered when it comes to decision makings of a baby? This is sad but true. Men are imposed with the whole option of having a baby. It's not like they have a say. Because when it comes down to the matter, should a man really want a child, at the end of the day, he has no say. Because when you think about it, it's the woman who has a say. It's her body. What she says matters. So now when it comes to a man saying he is not ready, people say he's being a chauvinist. He's being a traditionalist. It is not right. Why must he always make the decisions? But then when you think about it, it comes to what must a man do to even have those type of privileges and rights, just to even have a say? Because then at the end of the day, it takes two to have a baby. I feel there's many reasons why these things happen, but then I thought, let me just touch on 3 points with you listeners out there at home. The first thing, well, in a male perspective, why is it hard for us to even try to contemplate having children? The first thing is finances. Because you look at this daily world, the resources that we have in the world are no more given to us. You always have to have some source of income or some passive job. If you don't, then it is difficult for you to try to raise a child in these circumstances. It is so hard. It is so dire. It plays a certain fact in your life whereby your standard of living is harsh. So you cannot try to bring a child into the world when you are struggling yourself. What is the point of bringing another life and making that person, he or she, suffer with you in that whole debacle, that whole situation? But the second one I thought about is that it's most common than not the one night stand situation whereby males would use the concept of blame it on the alcohol, where they just wanted to have a one night fling and one thing led to another, and now when the repercussions come in, it wasn't me, you were cheating on me, I never wanted you. But at the same twist, some people think that it's entrapment, a situationship whereby a woman plans to entrap a person looking at their lifestyle. Like I'm talking about prior on the first statement. A person doesn't have a certain lifestyle they're living to. They're trying to accomplish financial freedom. But now, if they do have financial freedom, when you look at it from a female's perspective who is in poverty, now one of these things that are used is a modern day trap where they want to use a baby to secure their future with the person in question, which I feel is totally wrong, but we have no say in it. This has been going on from the test of time. Some people even use it for manipulation to get into families. It's gone from pillar to post, but I don't know. What do you think? On our last matter, the one I feel which is the most heartbreaking of it all is when you even as a man find out you have a child and you're excited. You thinking to myself, yes, I am going to raise this child to be mine. Some people come out of hard background, privileged or bad circumstances, and they want to be better than what their counterparts or their fathers or mothers were to them. They just want to grow with a child, a little significant being of themselves. But then what happens when the woman in question says, I'm not interested, I am not ready, this is not my life? Some don't even have that option to know about them even having a child until it's too late, or they find out after the child is terminated. To the listeners out there, I think this is just too much of a debacle. We're in a conundrum, we're in a puzzle, and I want us to piece things together because there's so many things coming in. But then right now, I really think I need a little breather. So I'd like you guys to hit me with your views and reviews on our WhatsApp line, which is 079-089-3671. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, which is African Eyes Media. As well, we're on Instagram, which is African_Eyes_Media in small caps. Don't forget, you're on African Eyes Radio, and we are still on African time with your host, doing the most, Thando Macozoma. Identify, internalize, progress. If you want truth, we are that truth. Come rain or shine, you will find what you're looking for. We are the custodians of truth, the surgeons that bring light out from the darkness. You want the revolution? We are the revolution. The revolutionary
to the Revolutionary Radio, African Eyes Radio.
Welcome back to the show, and if you're just tuning in, where have you been? For all those listeners that's been with me from day one, thank you for being here and still staying tuned. And for those who are just joining us, you are locked into African Eyes Radio, and we are on African time with your host, doing the most, Thando Macozoma. Now, just to make a quick recap, for those who don't know what we're talking about, we on the basis of gender inequality. What does it mean to you? What is going on? So earlier on, we had a segment or a clip where we spoke of the situation and how things are divided in the modern day world. We also had reviews from one of our listeners. Her name is Mpho Mlambo. So I thought we should make a follow-up of what she had to say on the subject matter, just to recap everyone and make you catch up on our discussion. So stay tuned with us and allow me to share this with you as we proceed through with our discussion of gender equality.
Hi all. So the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, I posted about how men are not considered when it comes to the decision of having a baby. Now, I got a lot of mixed reactions, and especially from women, some even calling me a pick-me, because I spoke for men. And yeah, women will feel betrayed if you speak for men. Now, what I want you to understand and why I said what I said is because of the statistics and the things that we are seeing in society. The other day it was Father's Day. We saw how many single mothers were triggered and bashed and spoke bad about the absent baby daddies that are not present in the child's lives. These are some of the contributing factors that contribute to men not being, as I said, ready to be a parent, right? And yes, the decision and the risk might lie with the woman, but we need to face the reality that whatever decision that you take, because you are the one that bears the risk. Yes, you are the one that has to go through childbirth. You are the one that needs to be pregnant and carry the child for 9 months. But the decision that you are making is going to affect the child's life, either or. And it's going to affect the environment that the child comes into. Now, either or, whether you are going to keep the baby or you don't want the baby while the man wants the baby, because you are the carrier, you need to understand that whatever the decision, you need to bear the consequences of them. And that is what I was trying to stress out, to saying that if we are going to hold the men accountable when we decide to have babies, why are we then also not held accountable as well for our actions when we decide not to have babies? Because what we do on the other should be done to the other. And that is the point I was trying to make.
Wow, that was really insightful. And this is from a woman's perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Our listeners out there, I feel like she hit it spot on the forehead, the nail in the coffin. What do you do now in this type of scenario? We spoke about gender equality, so I thought when we take this subject on, we could just focus on something whereby everyone can agree to disagree. So the scenario was, why are men not allowed to have a say when it comes to the decision of having a baby, especially with the opposite sex? She brought up a lot of valid points from my point of view. We always look at one side of everything, whereby it's the man's fault doing this and that. But now, let's just put it in a different circumstance, whereby now the child is here, is in the world. Me as the father, I wasn't ready for that. And I disappeared. Now you are a single parent. Now you are left accountable thinking that your decisions were actually going to help you and your child or our child to say per se in the future because of my financial status. But then from there on out, I don't think I was ready. I don't think I reached the pinnacle of where I was supposed to be. So now what happens? You go back home to where you used to live with your parents or whatnot. You are left with trials and tribulations whereby you have to find work. Maybe you're uneducated. What happens from there? What are your means of income? What is your way forward? And you know now the debacle is that you cannot raise a child alone. A child is raised by a community. But now here's the problem. When it comes to a problematic child, it's not usually the child's fault. It's always the upbringing, the background, the parenting. Because you cannot raise a child alone. Even children need a father figure. But now if the father's not involved, who is there to assist you? Is it your uncle, your father, your grandfather? Does it? Well, it does depend. What if you're an orphan and you're by yourself? The trauma that's left on the child is left alone because now children have to grow up so fast when they're still in their young age. Some say it's not fair because then you putting a burden over a child, and sometimes, well, most of the times I feel parents are open to their kids to an extent whereby this is where they forget to draw the line and say, this is as much information I can give to my child about the situation. And when they come up to you during their primary stages asking, mommy, where's daddy? Or mom, why don't I have a father? It is hard for a mother to act on it because now, as you heard on the previous clip, triggers come in. Now you're seen from the public as a bad parent, and how your child conducts themselves is a reflection of you and you alone. So now it becomes a huge mess. What do you do? How is it fair? You know, sometimes the tables do turn, but now in that type of situation, you see how one-sided it becomes when a selfish decision is made without the consideration of the other person involved. You are left alone. Now, in a situation whereby a man would want to have that child or want to parent a child and you don't give them that say, what happens to them? She raised a lot of valid points. Are we entitled as men now to go to the law and say, I'm suing a person for doing wrong by me, by terminating a life which was mine? Because let's say, God forbid, a man was in the circumstance and tried to terminate, whereby now the woman did not want that, and then now it leads to a miscarriage. I can still be trialed in a court of law for involuntary manslaughter. Now what happens? Now who's at fault? I am. But now when it comes to you, because it is your body, some say you left scot-free. Some said you thought about the decision, or maybe it was just impulse at that moment where you felt your future was promised. But we all know the saying, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today. The one thing about life that is constant is change. So what makes you have your change of thought? Because, you know, even sometimes I think both sides could even be wrong, because maybe both of you are joyful expecting a child, but as time goes by, you notice that the male figure tends to fade away. Then what happens? You are now left to bear the responsibility by yourself. This also makes me think of that theory whereby in our previous shows before we spoke about the art of mating, which was, I quoted by Minister Farrakhan when he said, you have to be selective of who you mate with. A relationship is all good and well, but even if you're not in a relationship, who you select, it also reflects on you. Think about it. Most people are always quick to say, I'm in love, I fell in love, I love you, you are the light of my life, you're my first, you're my last, you're my everything. I know you know those famous quotes, but here is the problem that people do not educate each other about in this modern day era. You have to be careful about who you pick as a partner. If you go into a union together, have you actually sat down and thought, what does this person give? You know, Some people say it's toxicity to say, what do you bring to the table? But it's not always about what you bring to the table, but what do you present on that table? What if I came towards the opposite sex or a lady and I professed my love? By holding back the information of who I am or the things that I have or do not have and the debt I am in, now it reflects on you. Isn't that a problem? I think it is. You are the one who has cleared on your credit score. You have a perfect record. You made sure you avoided debt. You're financially free, and then I come with this debt on your shoulders. What happens then? Can we answer that? We don't. It leads to frustration. And then people say we monetize when we do these things. But the basic logic of everything in life comes with facts. Men are moved by sight, women are moved by emotion. Men are logical, women are emotional. But sometimes you have to sit back, recall your thoughts, and think things through. Sometimes you also have to think of it as a job. Someone is applying to be in your life, to love you, to be with you. Yes, it's all willy-nilly, but do you actually think of the circumstances that come with your actions, your decisions, your choices? I'm scared to even try to answer that for you, because myself, I'm still searching, but we'll never know. I was told by most of my friends in this conversation we had earlier that sometimes it is right to treat a person that you're interested as if you're having a job application. What are the benefits you are going to gain? What is the work you are going to give? What are expected from both sides of the party? Where do you see yourself 3 to 5 years? Plans, goals, aspirations also help to see where you are heading to in your future. It is pointless for you to go with someone who has no direction. I think our parents warned us from the get-go that before you can even rush into things, you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know what the person's about. Yes, we understand growing up in our adolescence, it's always trial and error, experiment, excitement, the heat of the moment. I don't dispute that. But somewhere along the line, we just need to grow up. I don't think it's hard for me to say that. Listeners out there, if you had to look at your person right now, are you 100% confident that that person will have your back? Will they be with you in the good and the bad? Are they still childish? So in your thought, if anything even comes with a hint of doubt, you need to tell that person, look them straight into the eye and say, I love you with all I am, but you need to grow up. You're doing it for the betterment of you and yourself and that person that you're with. It's counterproductive to just fall blindly in love with someone and expect everything to fall in place. It doesn't work like that. We live in the real world, but the real world does not do that for us. The real world teaches us that everything that you do has consequences. As she mentioned, actions have equal but yet opposite amounts of a reaction. So if you don't do the work in something, you don't get benefits. But if you work hard, more often than not, you will get your rewards. This is the same thing with your decisions. Gender equality. You have the responsibility. You have the opportunity. It is your God-given right to be treated equal, but at the same time, you have to caution yourself when you do something. You have to think it through. So tell me, what would you do if you are male and then you found out the person you are with does not even give you a say about a life that you form together? I don't know. I need your views. The listeners out there, don't forget, you still tuned into African Eyes Radio and we are on African time, but I don't want to diverge out of that. I'm just in excitement right now because I want to hear more views, reviews. I need you to hit us up on our WhatsApp line, which is 079-089-3671. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, which is African Eyes Media. We are also on Instagram, which is African_Eyes_Media in small caps. For me, this is, those moments in life when you think you have to be reflective. You have to understand what you are doing. You have to stick to your principles. I think it's even wise for me to say to the listeners out there, you've set a standard for yourself in life. Your standard of living is a reflection of you as well, that reflects on your choices. So what are we supposed to do? How do we feel about these type of situations whereby when you are treated unfairly in aspects of work and play, now it affects your daily life? It's because of what you've been through. The decisions you make, your life experiences reflect you. I would even like someone to just sit down with me and look themselves in the mirror and say, if gender discrimination is one thing that is affecting us in the world, how do we change it? Is it helping us for the good or the bad? Are you for or are you against? I want to really go back deep into it, but right now I think it's only best for us to just hear one more segment from our listener. And I'd love for her to even come back in the show one more time where we actually interact, you know? It would be so marvelous. But before we even do that and even go to our ad breaks, I'd like for us just to hear one more segment from her in conclusion of this whole subject. And then from there, we'll be back with you after these few messages. But before we do that, let's hear what she has to say one more time. This is Mpho Mlambo on the subject matter of gender equality. What does it mean to you?
We need to face the facts. Never mind what we wish for. Never mind what we aspire that we have perfect families and everything. We need to face the reality and look at the statistics of how many women are raising kids on their own, of how many fathers are not there and present in their child's lives. Right? We need to take that into consideration, that some of these are factors that contribute to single parenting, because we see the red flags. We get told that I don't want to do this, I don't want to be a parent, but yet it, we still take that decision to say, it's my body. We're not disputing that, but we do not want to then bear the consequences of the actions that we are taking and the decisions that we are taking. And that is why we will be labeled as bitter baby mamas or bitter single parents, like what has been happening over Father's Day with the triggers and everything. Because the reality of the matter is, at the end of the day, as a woman, as the risk taker, you need to be able to stand by the decision that you take and bear the consequences of the decisions that you take.
Well, there you have it. The genie in the bottle has just been released out. To the listeners out there, this is really mind-boggling. I don't know whether to go forward or back, but I want us to stay tuned because we're still on Africanized Radio. This is really immense for us right now. We are talking about gender equality, and we focused on a segment, should fathers be included in the decision making of having a baby? I want to have a deep breath with y'all, and I'm dazed right now. Excuse my excitement. I just want you to stay tuned with us, stay alive, and we'll be back after these short messages. And don't forget, you are still on African time. Identify, internalize, progress. If you want truth, we are that truth. Come rain or shine, you'll find what you're looking for. We are the custodians of truth, the surgeons that bring light out from the darkness. You want the revolution? We are the revolution. This is the revolutionary.
You are listening to the Revolutionary Radio, African Eyes Radio.
Welcome back to the show, and if you're just joining us, I am so mad at you. Where have you been? We've been talking on the conversation of gender equality, or the injustice of gender equality both to man and woman. What were your views? We had a quick recap whereby we spoke to one of our listeners. Her name is Mpho Mlambo. I think she's one of our new content creators that I want to just steal and put her under our umbrella, our family, which is Africanized Radio. And I just wanted to say, things have been going up. They've been boiling. Our conversations have been hot. Our discussions have been marvelous. But I don't know. What are your views on it? Gender equality, are you yay or are you nay? Please don't forget, you are still locked into On African Time with your host, doing the most, Thando Macozoma. Now, I just want to go back into recapping everything. What is gender equality? He spoke by saying gender equality is when a person of all ages, groups, or whatnot, when you name them, have equal rights, opportunities, and responsibilities. But now, the real question at hand, what happens when you are not treated the same? Because you say you are equal in the eyes of the law, but some certain treatments are different from male and female. What do you do? How do you act? How do you become yourself? What do you become after these circumstances happen to you in a particular situation? I just feel like it was overwhelming all in all. There were so many views and reviews in my mind. I just thought sometimes you just have to weigh the good with the bad, the ups and the downs. Everything that we do, we had to just go on a full 360 around and just reflect on what's going on. I just feel that in most cases, more often than not, life does not work the way we plan it. But it doesn't mean not being prepared doesn't help you be aware of what you're doing. There are so many factors in the world that contribute into breaking down a person and not making them reach their full potential. So what is the best thing to do as a right and recourse? Prepare yourself. Nurture yourself, love yourself before you even look outside. Understand who you are, because then when you do that, you'll know how to be treated and know how to treat others. This is what I feel is the main theory or my concept of gender equality. How can you treat someone fairly when you haven't been treated fairly? How can you treat someone with love, compassion, respect, admiration, and aspiration to just build a person? Because we are human beings, we are entities that come together, and we cannot be alone. We have to grow together. We have to learn together, we have to build each other. In the revolutionary radio, everyone talks about one thing in life. We are in a revolution. We are always in a struggle. You will always struggle wherever you are. Regardless of what it is, how hard it is, no one can ever step in your shoes. But the one thing you must do is always treat yourself with that little TLC, tender love and care. So this is what it comes to. When we reflect on ourselves about gender equality, rights and regulations, we'll never know. Some are saying they're for, some are saying they're against. But all we know is that the one thing that has to be consistent is change. So I'm just saying, on my point of view as a man, going into these type of discussions, it makes me think, it makes me query. If today is like this, what is going to happen tomorrow? If we still ignoring the history that came behind us and is still presenting us today, what is going to happen to our tomorrow? I'm not saying it's right to treat someone unfairly, but don't look or discriminate a person via their gender, race, or how they treat themselves in their life. It's about how you treat someone and you want to be treated. This is like one of those age-old questions that come from the beginning of time, and I don't think we'll ever answer it. In the beginning, we always said we have to know our roles as males and females. We have to understand who we are, and we just have to love each other. I say, different circumstances go with different times, but we always have to adapt to the changes and do better for ourselves. Your views on gender equality, Well appreciated, and I would really like us to continue our conversation. So please hit us up on our WhatsApp line, which is 079 089 3671. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, which is African Eyes Media. We also on Instagram, which is African_eyes_media in small caps. If you follow me, I will follow you back with love. We are family. Don't forget that.
You are listening to the Revolutionary Radio, African Eyes Radio.
You know, some things are better left unsaid. I thought it only wise that we sit down and conversate one-on-one. I thank you for just listening to me, to the listeners out there. And I want you to remember, time does heal all wounds, but good things also come to those who wait. But in some cases, you just have to stand up and fight for your rights. And this is what I feel when it comes to gender equality. We are on African time, and I am Thando Macozoma, your host, doing the most. I promise to always give you more, and I'll never give you less. Nonetheless, I think we ended off our show with the greatest of success.